Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this video presentation. In this essay I'd like to talk about the issue of increasing the minimum wage, the takeout food industry or the hospitality industry generally, including takeout food, and then the concept of economic viability. Now within those headings there's going to be the subheadings of how has the economics of takeout food changed over the years. Now, when I look at the price of, say, buying a burger and fries and a drink, when I first started noticing change, like McDonald's, that sort of thing, around, and then looking at, say, my wage at the time, I'd have struggled to create a meal at home that was as cheaper than that, and if I looked then at the convenience factor, preparation time, and I'm driving down the road, I'm hungry now, I'll have that, the sheer convenience of it all, then you couldn't beat it relative to again what it would cost you to do food in the home. Now, food in the home hasn't gone down in price or whatever, but takeout food has increased in price relative to what it would cost to do a meal at home. Now, there's a local takeout chicken shop just sort of in the village that we live in now. They do two chickens, large fries, like a salad thing, and so I look at the price of that and I say, well, what would it cost me to buy that in the grocery store? What would be the equivalent? Now, I can buy that for slightly over a third of the cost of getting the takeout food. Now, I can go into a grocery store, I can get cooked chickens, I can get off-the-shelf salads, that sort of thing. So say it's, I'll just use round numbers to illustrate the point here. Let's say it's $10 for the, actually it's about $50 for the takeout chicken shop there. $50. I can get the same gig for maybe not a third, but it could be close to a third. Say between a third and a half. So just to cover the ends out there. Now the chicken's already cooked. Maybe there's the fries. I might have to forgo the fries, or I can do that quick enough in the pan. Buy some potato at the store. So really, it's now quite expensive to do get takeout food relative to what it would cost you. Now the prep time, if you go into the supermarket, the grocery store, and buy a couple of cooked chickens, you're ready to rock, and the salad off the shelf, these, or even if you buy a couple of salad bits, like some lettuce and that sort of stuff, and make it yourself, it's still significantly cheaper to do it that way without much of an investment in time or going through any serious inconvenience. So why wouldn't you do that? Now, if you're on a budget, I can't see why anybody would get the takeout food now. The same goes for, say, if I want to get the larger burger at a takeout burger store, and the fries and the drink, it's pushing $20 now. Now, if I get the beef patties, which I have to cook, the bun and the salad and so on, I can produce that burger for, again, a quarter, a third the price, less than let me think about here, 2, 4, half, less, easily less than half the price it would cost. So now that wasn't the case. It used to be that the costs were comparable of buying something in the grocery store and going to the takeout food store. The costs were comparable. And you had just the sheer convenience factor that would dictate it in the takeout food store. About the same price, and I can have it right now. So now that's different. The convenience factor's declined, I think, relative to as you can get like cooked chickens in the store. You can just buy a single bun. You can buy a couple of beef patties to make the burger. All these sorts of things have I think contributed to devalue the takeout food. But came back to material point, why has the takeout food price increased much faster than everything else, as in buying it in the store? Because they used to be about the same, and yet now, as far as I can tell, they're significantly more expensive. So aside from the novelty value of maybe getting the novel flavour combinations or something like that, I don't see that there's really any benefit. Even if you look at the cheaper, mass sort of takeout food, lunchtime food court type things, you look at those, it's still much cheaper to make your own food. Whereas before it wasn't. There was nothing in it. Sometimes when I was at work, when I was younger, maybe I'd take something from home, but really I could go to the takeout food store and it wouldn't cost me any more. So that's all changed though. Now having a look at wages, should minimum wages be higher, and will that mean that takeout food stores have to close, or they have to reduce staff, or it changes the mix of staff, or what it is? Well, the takeout food sector's gone through changes in the, if you like, the backdoor economics of it all. Not all, but pretty much all of the takeout food stores are owned by third world people who are front stooges for international Chinese and Indian and Middle East and whatever finance. The economics of the takeout food shop have changed. They're not the family-owned business, doing burgers for in their shop. It's not that anymore. It's typically big finance is involved now. The payout they want and they're expecting, and the return on investment is quite a bit different. It's now big money looking for big returns and looking for low risk. And there are numerous labour hire organisations out there with third world peasants that'll say, look, you don't need to worry about hiring people. We'll just bring our peasants in here. You don't have to worry about minimum wages. You don't have to worry about rates per hour, because we package up the labour hire thing with accommodation and food and transport. So these people are being paid $2 an hour, not. There's a case in California recently where I think they're increasing the minimum wage for fast food workers, maybe in the bigger businesses, not the smaller corner businesses, and they're increasing it, I think, from like $15 to $20 an hour, I think it is. So, but the economics have changed. They're not the family-owned business type arrangement now. It's bigger finance in there, wanting bigger returns. And if you look at the profit margins that are in some of these, I was looking at if you're buying chickens, so for example, this is cooked chickens, you're buying them wholesale and you're churning through some decent numbers. These people are buying the chickens for like $5 and selling them for maybe with fries or something, but even so, selling for like $20 to $25 type range for like a packaged up lunch or dinner, packaged up meal. So the profit's fairly big. But once you start looking at the real estate involved, the rent and the cost of labour and the cost of electricity and all these other things, it requires a fairly major investment, and that can only come from the bigger players, and then using offshore money to do it, using labour hire. So really, this idea of putting up the wage or the increase of the wage of workers, I think it has its place. Should it be a uniform thing? Maybe not. And there are different conditions and circumstances. For example, Billie Jean lives she's in senior high school. She lives with her folks. She's got no overheads or costs to meet or anything like that. She can work for a lower wage than Billy Bob, who's trying to pay his mortgage or raise a family or something like that. So the different circumstances of the people can dictate what sort of wage they may need. This would also in turn dictate the sort of people that would apply for those jobs and the circumstance they're in. Now, when I was a kid, the people working in the takeout food stores, like the McDonald's and so on, other than the manager perhaps, they were pretty much all high school kids, maybe early college kids, that sort of thing, but typically high school kids, say between the age of 16 and 18, that sort of stuff. So that isn't now the case as much. You'll be quite rare. There'll be Chinese or people or Asians or whatever, brown people in their 20s and 30s working there. You won't see the high school kids anywhere, and that's sort of a bit of a surprise. The same goes even for grocery stores and places like that. That in the weekends and other times, they used to be all a high school kids gig. You just don't see that. So the whole mix of people that work at these places has changed, and the kids that can most easily afford to work there, as in they're still living at home and they just really want to make some spending money, that sort of stuff, they seem to be absent from these. I mean, where are they? So there's been a change in the mix of people. The people that could work for lower wages are no longer, and would be happy to do it, are no longer the ones you see working there. So the entire economics has changed. Why is it that chains like the McDonald's type chains could happily make good profits, handsome profits, selling me a burger and fries that was very affordable for me, whereas now when I look at having again the upper range burger and fries pushing $20, I can make a meal at home for a quarter of that. Without really suffering any great inconvenience or any proportional inconvenience. So the entire economics of takeout food have changed, and the affordability of it in the overall scheme of things has changed, and also where the money comes from to set these places up. There's a guy I know who was in charge of franchising operations for one of the larger takeout food chains. And he suddenly had this infusion of money coming out of India, madly buying up all the franchises and just filling them all up with illiterate peasant workers from India, and who were again being housed 20, 30, 40, 50 to a dwelling, and they were the slave labour, if you like, that were working in these businesses. But the profit extraction was huge, much bigger than it was 50 years ago, 40 years ago, indicating again the sort of money that's moved into the industry. So does the industry need a shakeout? Well, to my way of thinking, too much money's moved into the takeout food industry, and the industry is now just too big. There are just too many players in the industry, and they're not offering in my view, they're not offering a viable service unless takeout food can be competitive with having a meal in your own home. Unless it can be competitive with that, then I don't see it has anything to offer. It's ceasing to be a service to the public. So screaming about, well, the only way the industry can survive is by having peasant labour from the third world, then it's not a viable economic model. And so I would argue that takeout food today, in the main, is not a viable economic model. Certainly not on the basis that it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago when I could buy a burger and fries and a drink for less than $2. And yet now that same gig is, if I want to have in proportion the same thing, it's gone well past the rate of inflation. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.